Hey guys, I went on a weekend trip and had some problem with my car, so I ended up staying 2 extra days. And wouldn't you know it, the one time I don't bring twice as many brushes as I need, I don't. And so I ended up with 2 brushes, but that's okay because I really enjoyed both of them. And one was a board that I wanted to put some more uses on, so it worked out. And I did think about that beforehand. I did want some more, some other choices, and this is one of the ones that I was hoping wishing that I had brought with me. This Semogue. It's a limited edition brush made for the Shave Nook, and this is the 2018 version, and it's number 135 of 180. And I have used it maybe just once, and so I want to use it again. I have been, as you can see how clumpy he is, he has been soaking for 10 or 15 minutes while I took a shower. And then we are going to rub him around in this soap. When I decided I wanted to use that brush, I thought, what razor do I want to use? And I decided that this Wolfman WR2 is a good one to use with my Nacet, because the Nacet is use number 268 is going to be the use for today. You can see the 267 there. And so when I picked the limited edition brush, kind of special, and then I picked the kind of special razor, I thought, let's pick a kind of special soap. And this is a pricey soap, but I'm not really all that impressed with it yet. The scent is very light, at least for my nose. And the performance is good, but that we know because Velabra is the one who makes the base. Czech and Speake number 88 is today's soap. And boy, if you want to pay for that aluminum tub that it comes in, I'm sure that is a beautiful piece of engineering, but that is very expensive. It's like $80 or something like that, and that is almost a used price. I have used this soap once, and so I had this in my give it another try bin, and so that's where I was looking for what I should use next. And so I said, well, got a limited brush, a limited hard to get razor, let's do a expensive soap. So that's why we chose what we did today. And I haven't used the Aquamarine from Fine in a while, and I thought that would be a good choice for tonight. The bowl we have is the Royal Norfolk from the Dollar Tree. Bold, not all that special. That's all right. We can exist with those kind of dichotomies. But this brush is a medium sized brush, and it should be just fine in this bowl. My large badgers get a little crowded in this bowl. It's the Santa Fe collection at the Dollar Tree of the Royal Norfolk Company. My beard is hydrated. It is probably looking at a little bit less than 24 hours of growth by a couple of hours. And let us load. I looked at my notes and it said 55 seconds. Gave me 7 passes of lather with this soap before. And so let us do 40 seconds of loading this time and just see what happens. This is a slightly different brush, so things could be different, but that's okay. Shake out most of the water. Still feel kind of heavy. All right, 40-second load. Oh, 10 rolled around right there, so let's just jump right in, and we'll go up to the 50 mark on my clock. I can smell, something coming up. You'll have to look in the description of the video for the scent notes if you're interested. I think there's some rose in here, a light hint of rose, some vetiver, and 5 more seconds. And there we go. So it looks pretty good. Looks like we loaded enough soap. It's funny how some soaps look that way on the brush and some don't. Some just are almost hidden inside the brush. And so you can't really tell by looks unless you already know to look for a very small amount. All right. This brush hasn't been used too many times. I'm thinking it's around 5 or 6 uses based on the person who sent it to me. What their input was. It definitely has some tips that are splitting. If you don't know anything about bore brushes, I sure didn't at one point. But a couple of things happen as you use them. The tips will gradually split. I used to think that maybe wet and dry cycles was one of the things that caused it to split, but after talking with another friend who had similar brushes as I did and treated them a little bit differently, I think maybe agitation and the work you do with them might play more of a part than the wet-dry cycles. But anyway, you want those tips to split, and you also want them not to open up. Sometimes they start very narrow, and if it's got a strong bristles, then it may stay narrow. Speaking of that, that reminds me of this little guy right here. See the barrel shape handle? It's a Semogue, or at least that's the Excelsior is the decal of Semogue. I emailed him pictures and he thought it was maybe a synthetic, but I don't think that looks looking like a bore to me. I think we've already got some tips splitting right there. And so, but man, holy cow, I soaked these bristles for the same amount of time I soaked this very brush here, and they were so stiff. I'm thinking that this is a different caliber of bristles, a different grade of bristles. Maybe it's it looks like kind of an older Semogue brush. It does have a barcode on the packaging. It says Ref 210 on this particular brush. And so, I don't know, I did some Googling for 210, Ref 210, 210 Semogue, that sort of thing, and I didn't really find anything. I did find a few pictures when I looked for barrel-handled Semogue brushes. That gave me a few more results. But hey, if any of you guys know what this guy is, I'd appreciate you telling me. There are some with this black, this looks like a black plastic ring here. There are some with a metal ring, and so this is the kind with the black plastic collar there. If any of you viewers happen to be vintage brush experts, or at least brushes that are maybe several years old, I guess with barcodes. When were barcodes brought around? In the 80s? Late 70s? Just guessing here. I was a kid back then. The guy at the Portuguese factory, that's where I get my Semogue brushes. That's the eBay username of the Semogue folks, the actual factory. And they've been really helpful with the orders that I've placed as I've had questions and asked them about what color handles. I'm interested in this cherry handle, you know, but I don't want one that's a lighter colored stain. It's a darker. So they emailed me photos. How nice was that, right? So we put 2 teaspoons in already. Now here's 3. He responded back where he said he thought it was maybe synthetic and it was made for a certain brand called Barbareal or something, I can't remember the word. I'll have to do some Googling on it later. He said he thought it was that kind of a brand name that Semogue made brushes for. Super stiff. I'm really interested to, I'm going to put it through some palm lathers for a while. And then I'm interested about that handle shape. Does that offer a comfortable handle shape? Being so round, I'm so used to the handle shapes that have the saddle, have a narrow part in the middle to let you grab. So now 4 teaspoons. And my previous load was 55 seconds and it was almost like 5.5 teaspoons. So if this 40-second load and 4 teaspoons, that could be a good ratio. I do have a little bit of a scent coming up. I can pick out the faint sweetness and scent of the rose. It is maybe the vetiver, maybe something kind of green. The rose is just such an easy note to pick out. It doesn't take an educated nose to find the rose. Well, I have made a plethora of lather, and look how slick that is. Look how that collapses. Blorp. Blorp. There we go. I think that looks ready to use. Wet my face. I did use a glycerin soap on my face during my shower, so that is a great preparation for the shave. Get rid of those skin oils that might get in my way. Let us grab the razor blade. You guys want to see all the dots in one shot here? I need to get like an index card to be the backing. We got a bunch right there, a bunch there. I try to do them in groups of 10 to make for easier counting. 2, 6, 8. So this is an 85 gap WR2. And this is the really good polish. Is this the high polish? Yeah, it might be. All right. Here's the Nacet. Now I take great pains to only hold it by non-sharpened edges and surfaces. There's the 3 dots. The 4 posts on the end and the corners there help to keep it perfectly aligned. I just think that this design, kind of patterned after the BBS one, back in the days when Wolfman was kind of working with LA Shaving Soap Company. I just think this is one of the prettiest looking razor heads out there. It's kind of bold, manly, sturdy, but also kind of lithe and not quite as clunky as a Timeless, though I love the Timeless look. So this is one of my favorites. All right. Let's throw some lather on my face. Just got back from my trip, and so I do need to get in bed and get some sleep. This brush, there's no prickle. This is the, what grade of hair was this? I believe this was the premium grade. Like the Semogue 830, like the 1305. but it's a larger knot. And so I do enjoy with the Semogues, the ones with the larger knots like the 2000. Now this is actually thick. You saw how elastic that was? I was showing you in the bowl, and it still needs more water. Can you believe that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I've used 4 teaspoons so far in the shave. I'm going to open up a little hole in the middle. Put some in there. Let's make this even creamier. Add it a little bit more. Start on the other side. Don't want my right side to have all the good special hydrated lather. That's enough for now, I think. This 85 gap razor is still, even though it is out of standard, it's not one of the standard sizes for the WR2, it's lower than that. I find it still a little bit too much blade feel for my preferences. I just really enjoy a mild shave. Mild but still efficient, a smooth, comfortable shave. Okay, now we have 6 teaspoons in the lather. I'm going to integrate the rest of that right before the next pass. And so I left it a little bit thick here because since this guy is a little bit more aggressive than I might normally like, let's leave the lather a little bit thicker, and that might work to soften the feel of the razor a little bit, because he has to kind of work his way through. And sure enough, this feels good. I can't wait to put this razor through a bunch more blades, because if I have a razor that is really in my wheelhouse in terms of the aggression, if it's something I already really enjoy, then I'm probably going to be able to use all my favorite blades with it and just not really have to think about the blade choice. But if I have a razor that I like to use, but it's not exactly in that target area, and then what I do is I work through all my blades with it, because maybe there's a certain subsection of blades that I have that might work best with it. And then I'll be able to enjoy that razor to the fullest if I focus on the ones that are just kind of custom made for it. Let's pretend that I found out that Rapira blades were just magic for me with this Wolfman. Now, they don't actually do very well for me in most of my razors, but let's pretend that they worked really well with the Wolfman. Well, then I could focus on those anytime I use my Wolfman. Now, the funny thing is, you may have similar experiences with the Wolfman and put him through your own tests, and you may discover Astra Platinum works best with that same razor, that same gap for your skin. That's just the way blades are. They're so subjective. Man, 40-second load and I have tons of lather. So 6 teaspoons of water is in this lather. The handle of this brush is quite short. it does get slippery. It does have enough contour to allow me to keep a decent hold, even though it's not a secure hold. But you know, you also kind of have to let your hands get used to different grips and things like that, and they may settle on a really nice grip even if you don't do anything but just keep using it. This is a very slick soap. Good job, Velabra. Yeah, just some light florals with this guy. Now we'll do cross grain. Take some of this goatee lather. Use it to run through. A little bit extra on my trouble spot. The slickness here is tremendous. And a little half rinse now. HD Shaves is another YouTuber out there. I've seen a couple of his shaves and it looks like he does a very good job. And he inquired recently about my car. I've mentioned that on my channel. It died. Buick. Some relatives gave it to me years ago. We didn't have a second car at the time, and it had 87,000 miles on it. And it died with 273,000 miles on it. So I definitely got a lot of good miles out of that car. It's an O2. So it was also quite old. But now it means I'm in the market for a car. I'm gonna have to look around at some dealerships and things like that. Find a little cheap something, a little commuter vehicle with okay gas mileage. I like to keep them cheap, so that leaves me more money in my paycheck to do other things like pay the power bill. Man, the slickness here is crazy. And this does not feel like a gap that's too much for me. So maybe this particular Wolfman is a good one to use once I've got a smoothed out old blade. Maybe not necessarily 268 uses old. And now again, we'll just kind of touch up, and maybe with these kind of leftover lather touch-up sessions in my trouble spot, maybe I'll end up with a nice shave there. So that is 3 passes. All right, we'll do a full rinse, check everything out. You know, that's a little more of a shadow than I might want. I have tons of lather left. That 40 seconds, look at that. I still have, I don't know, 5 passes of lather. So we can definitely reduce that next time, but why not hit that section one more time? can't help but do the whole neck. I enjoy the brush. I just get carried away. Okay, now here. Let's take a little bit extra from the bowl. Flip the razor around. Hit it from the other side. I am risking some irritation because of the slant I'm using. I am applying a slide against the grain aspect to the stroke. And that is risky for me and my skin. All right, now we'll rinse again. All right, well, that last little kind of neck area pass, it gained a little ground, not as much as I might hope. And I think this is one of those cases where in 20 minutes, if I were to come back and look, I'm not going to see as much kind of shadow. And so I think I'm going to be happy with this result. A couple of, several hairs had some length to them, but, and then just a general shadow feel that I might normally not like as much, but it's a pretty good shave. And it sure was a enjoyable shave. I don't think the extra work in my neck area was too aggressive. All right, well, fine. Aquamarine is next. It is not all that skin foody. Mainly just scent and alcohol and a little bit of menthol. A little bit of stinging. Not too bracing, but that's something that a smooth blade will help you with. Doesn't abuse your skin quite like the really sharp ones do. And some people do complain about the fine aftershaves and how they don't last very long. I didn't, in my last test with this, I didn't smell it on myself after maybe an hour and 20 minutes or so. However, 7 or 8 hours later, my wife still smelled it on me. She did, we did hug, and that's when she really smelled it, and so she was right up on me. It's not like she smelled it passing by or something, but it was still there. So some people might complain about fine, but it may just be that their noses are getting used to the scent, and it's still there in a small way, at least. So at least that's my take on it. And that's my take with Aquamarine. This is my only fine splash. I might like to increase my collection on that. I think I'm liking the level of menthol. I don't think it's too bothersome. We'll see. All right, let's take a look at this lather. So this is what came out of the brush just now. Looks great. Here's some of what came out of the bowl. Pretty much the same thing. This is some great lather. The slickness here. Oh yeah. It is a light, buttery kind of slickness. The lather does feel highly luxurious, and we do have plenty of water in this. Let's push it all up to my finger area so that we can pull it apart like that. Watch how those tips behave. They just drop down because of gravity. This is luxurious and nice. Just a silky feel to the lather, and then that continues on with the contact slickness. Very much. And look at all those, you see the little bubbles, but this is not like many of those vegan soaps where you see these kind of bubbles and it feels too light and unsubstantial. This is providing a great amount of slickness and still some viscosity to kind of give you that luxury feel. So this is some good stuff. Now, is it worth? Well, let's see. It's like 80 bucks if you want to get the tin, the aluminum container for it. Now, what if this lasts you a year's worth of shaves? What if this was your kind of one of your big shaving splurges? And if you put it in a rotation, maybe it lasted you 5 years because you put it in a rotation with 5 other soaps. So then 5 years of a luxury experience. If you happen to like this scent, if it's special to you, it might be worth it. It might not be overpriced. You know? Now I can definitely see where guys are saying, you know, why would you spend that much money? When it's just Velabra, just find yourself some Velabra. Well, it's the scent. And so if you like this scent, and you, which is kind of cool because, see, Taylor of Old Bond Street, Trumper, True Fit and Hill, they have some neat scents. But their hard soap production, they outsourced it to somebody else, and it's not nearly as good as the price tag makes you think it should be. But Czech and Speake, going with a quality soap base maker, and they put their scent in it. So I respect that a lot more than the 3 T's. D.R. Harris is the only kind of old school UK soap maker that hasn't outsourced their soap production, the hard puck. So that's what I do to bore brushes. I give them a good rinse, good clean, and that's one of the nice things I like about bores. They're not so dense as to take such a long time to clean. And they also clean really well with just cool water. So that's a lovely splay on such a young use brush. It feels soft. I like the give that it has, yet there's still plenty of scrub, and it keeps, not plenty of scrub, but there's still enough scrub to do the job nicely. There's enough scrub to pull up the soap into the brush and not have to take a long time loading. Comfortable for sure, soft tips, and it's going to get even better as the years go on, as the uses add up. Beautiful little kind of muted dark tortoise shell type color pattern here. So I can definitely see why the Shave Nook decided to work together to create that brush. So I think that the number 88 transitioned pretty well into the Aquamarine. Maybe they have a few notes in common, or maybe they're both just kind of easygoing scents, and so they just didn't clash, but it worked pretty well. The Aquamarine definitely doesn't have any rose florals or anything like that in it, I don't think. It may have some light florals, but it's not. It's more aquatic. Excellent. Really happy with today. 6 teaspoons of water for 40 seconds of loading, so I can definitely reduce the loading. Wonderful lather, just excellent. And it was enjoyable using the razor, and we clocked up another. So 269. The 8 is always funny because 7 feels like close to the middle, and then after you do that, the 8 shave, then you're 9, you're right at the end of the decade, and so you're going to hit another milestone, mini milestone. All right. Yeah, I'm a happy camper. The menthol didn't really bother me. I didn't really notice it as super strong, so I'm really happy about that. Yeah, I might have to grab a few more of those fine aftershaves, or just watch the used market and see when they pop up, because I've got enough aftershaves for now. All right, we don't always have to buy everything, right? So I hope that this shave has given you something to help you out in your shaving. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care. Good night.